Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss with the topic heterotrophic mode of nutrition in plants. The content that I am going to be discussing in this session is the four types of heterotrophic plants, their definitions and their explanation with the inclusion of examples, and finally I would conclude with the topic. There are four types of heterotrophic plants. Number one is parasitic plants. Number two is saprophytic plants. Number three is insectivorous plants. And number four is symbiotic plants. Now, let us understand what is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Plants that depend on the food produced by other plants. Such type of nutrition is termed as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Hetero means different or others. Nutrition means intake and utilization of food. So, I can say the definition once again, that is, heterotrophic nutrition is the nutrition in which the intake and utilization of food is in the form of various sources. The heterotrophic plants rely on the autotrophs and the other organic matter to satisfy their nourishment. Here, the word autotrophs means the plants which are able to make their own food with the help of the process called as photosynthesis. So, I can summarize heterotrophic nutrition as the plants which depend on the other organisms or dead organic matters as their food sources, and the organisms that exhibit heterotrophic mode of nutrition are called as heterotrophs. Also, they cannot make their own food as these plants lack chlorophyll and they obtain their food in the organic form. The first type of heterotrophic mode of nutrition is the parasitic mode of nutrition. The plants that do not have chlorophyll and they take ready-made food from the plant on which it is climbing. Such plants are termed as parasitic plants, and the mode of intake of food is called parasitic mode of nutrition. The plant on which the parasitic plant is climbing is called the host plant. Since the climbing plant deprives the host of valuable nutrients, it is called as a parasite. This means that the parasitic plant grows on the host plant and slowly and gradually it takes up the ready-made food which is prepared by the host plant, and thus the host plant is left without any food. The example of the parasitic plant is cuscuta. The yellow colored plant that you are able to see here is the cuscuta plant, which is taking the support of the host plant. This cuscuta plant intertwines itself around the host plant, and thus in this way it takes up the nutrition from the host plant, and thus the host plant is having no food. The second type of nutrition that we are going to learn is the insectivorous mode of nutrition. The mode in which the plants take up the nourishment from the insects is called as insectivorous mode of nutrition. and such plants that exhibit this mode of nutrition are called as insectivorous plants. The example of this type is the pitcher plant. The pitcher plant looks like the way I am pointing. The pitcher plant consists of a pitcher-like or jug-like structure which is the modified part of the leaf. The apex of the leaf forms a lid. Here, the word apex means the uppermost or the narrower part of the leaf. When an insect lands in the pitcher, the lid closes and the insect is trapped. The insect is then after digested by the digestive juices which are secreted in the pitcher, and its nutrients are absorbed. Now, here you can see in the figure that the person is holding the apex part of the leaf. The black colored spots are the dead bodies of the insects which are floating in the digestive juices which are released in the pitcher plant. Now, let us see a video which is showing you more examples of the insectivorous plants. Here, the insectivorous plants are also called as the carnivorous plants because they eat all the living organisms that come near them.
It's said sometimes it takes a wrong turn to get you to the right place. But landing up in this nightmarish neighborhood is purely a stroke of bad luck. For these Venus flytraps are hungry for flesh. With just a touch to one and then two of the microscopic hair triggers, the plant's jaws trap the prey, setting in motion a bizarre all-in-one digestive system. The sealed pod floods with a lethal brew of digestive juices. Its mouth becomes its stomach, and finally its intestines as it absorbs the nutrients. But this isn't the most efficient system, for a missed meal means energy wasted. High up above the flytraps, fellow carnivores, the pitcher plants, are a little more proficient. They're passive hunters firmly rooted in one spot. These plants make no attempt to hide in ambush. Once on the lip, the insect is as good as dead. Downward-facing hairs prevent a good foothold. The toxic nectar drugs them. Deep, waxy walls make it too slippery to crawl out. Others are also fighting for their lives. All the while, without their knowing, they're already part of the digestive process. Their remains will soon become part of the existing graveyard. The greatest guzzlers belong to the tropical pitcher family. Sporting deep tubular pits filled with flesh-dissolving enzymes, it's like an open-ended stomach. Any animal small enough to fit through the mouth of the death pit is fair game. victims die by drowning, while their flesh slowly dissolves.
The third type of nutrition that we are going to learn is the saprotrophs. The mode of nutrition in which organisms take in nutrients from dead and decaying matter is called saprotrophic nutrition. Such organisms with saprotrophic mode of nutrition are called saprotrophs. The fluffy umbrella-like patches growing on moist soils or on rotting wood during the rainy season are called fungi. So, the example saprotroph, it receives the nutrition from the pickles, leather, clothes and other such similar articles. Okay everyone, you can see the fluffy patches on the spoiled bread. This bread was kept for 2 to 3 days in a wet, moist condition. And this is what I have observed after 2 to 3 days. There are fluffy patches on this slice of bread. These fluffy patches take up the nutrition from the bread. Secondly, mushrooms. These mushrooms are growing on the dead tree trunk. This means that the mushrooms are taking the nourishment from the tree trunk which is already dead. The fourth type is symbiosis. Some organisms live together and they share both shelter and nutrients. This relationship between the organisms is called symbiosis. The two organisms depend on each other and they do not harm each other. The example is lichens. Lichens are a combination of algae and fungi. The algae is able to make its own food and it provides nourishment to the fungi. And the fungi is received with the shelter. And so these two organisms live in harmony. Secondly, symbiosis is exhibited by rhizobium bacteria which are living in the root nodules of the legumes. These are the root nodules of the legumes. What is the function of rhizobium bacteria in the roots? So, the rhizobium bacteria have ability to take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into a soluble form. Thus, the plant is benefited with the source of nitrogen and thus the soil is made more nutrient and there is no need of adding any extra fertilizer. Hence, rhizobium bacteria and the leguminous plants, they live mutually with each other. Thank you all of you. See you all in the next class. Stay healthy, keep smiling.